How I Got Unfamous, Part 1. My name is Kalie Shorr. I am a recording artist, songwriter, and podcast/radio host. I did country music for the first 8 years of my career and then transitioned to alternative. I was named one of 10 women changing the music game by Teen Vogue. I've been in Cosmopolitan, Elle, and Glamour magazines. I've had music videos on MTV and CMT. I did an international tour with the band All Time Low. I've opened for artists like Stevie Nicks, LeAnn Rimes, Sarah Evans, and I just got my first gold record as a songwriter. So we're gonna start at a very particular moment in time, but this is when everything in my career went. If this was the lowest point of my career and this was the highest point of my career, we're gonna start right here and tell you how I got to here. I want to be really clear that the point of this series is not to be like, wah wah, poor me, sob story. It's to share an important side of the music industry that I feel like people don't talk about because frankly, it's embarrassing and uncomfortable and no one wants to admit these things out loud, myself included. A bunch of seemingly small events and decisions can undo a decade's worth of work. I also want to be an example to people as to why you should trust your gut and stay in charge of your own career and not feel obligated to take everybody on your team's advice all the time. I just want to share what I wish I had known sooner. So we're starting at the point in time right before everything exploded. I had just released my debut album, Open Book, which I wrote about the most difficult time in my life. I'd just gone through the end of a 6-year relationship, and just when I was starting to feel better from that, my sister passed away from an accidental overdose. My whole personality shifted after that. It's not really like a villain origin story, but it kind of is a little bit. As opposed to becoming a villain, I made an album about it. The release was already going really well. I had some really cool press when it first came out, and I got to play some really cool shows. But the moment everything shifted, I was in New York, I was on tour with LeAnn Rimes, playing this tiny show, maybe 20 people. This is what it looked like. It was a little pop-up in New York City, but there were two very important people of the 20 people that were there that changed my life forever. One of them was the head of Nashville Downtown Partnerships. He is literally in charge of like all the huge events that happen in Nashville, promoting Nashville tourism. His name's Butch. He's great. The other person was John Caramonica. That's him right there. One of the head music critics at the New York Times. I did not know what would happen as a result of that. Remember that, we're coming back to it very quickly, and I'm gonna explain how that changed my life. The album came out on September 27th. That was October 15th. November 1st, I have a huge People magazine feature come out. This was the headline. This was one of the most thorough and in-depth interviews I've ever done, and it felt like something was starting to shift. November 22nd, I played 2 sold-out shows at the Ryman in Nashville, played for 4,000 people with my best friend, went to some tequila shots, sang at the karaoke bar I used to work at down the street, then came back and played another sold-out show for 4,000 people. December 5th, still on tour with LeAnn Rimes. My old manager and I are getting lunch before the show, and we are in a random town. His wife sends us a link and was like, holy shit, and this was the link. I remember crying. We were telling the waitress. Everybody in the restaurant was like, oh my God. They brought over champagne, and this is a picture of me celebrating. It's so rare in the music industry that you have like a moment where you're like, oh, nothing's ever gonna be the same, because it happens so slowly and then like it feels like it's all at once. So that was a direct result of the show for 20 people in New York. And then Butch, the lovely person who's the head of Nashville Downtown Partnership, asked me to play the Nashville New Year's Eve show, opening for Stevie Nicks, Keith Urban, and Jason Isbell for 200,000 people. And of course I said yes. It was incredible. The band crushed it. We had this like giant tour bus, free everything all night. And I rang in 2020, cheersing Nicole Kidman on live television. I was just like, 2020 is gonna be the best year of my life. I've never felt so sure about anything. So that first month of January 2020, I booked my first ever headlining tour. I got asked to go on tour with Martina McBride, and I played the first night of my headlining tour. It was sold out in Nashville. Everyone was singing along. It was the best show of my life. I got this crazy encore that I did not expect to get, and this was how I felt coming off stage. 2 days later, Billboard magazine drops a review of the show. This was the headline. Ticket sales picked up for all of the rest of the dates. And the day after that, I started a relationship with somebody that I ended up being with for 4 years, which will also become an important part of the story. I spent February on my headlining tour in Vegas and LA. Next up is part 2, where I tell you everything I was doing the weekend that quarantine happened.